Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of The Wake Up. It's June 4th. We're talking today about the second day of President Trump's state visit to Britain, Mexico's continuing crackdown on migrants, and a new Jeopardy champion finally won. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good show for you today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us here. I cannot believe it's only Tuesday. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. And we are obviously starting with the British visit. After a day of pomp and ceremony with the royal family, President Trump met with Prime Minister Theresa May today. Then widespread protests over his state visit are expected in London. At a business roundtable this morning, Trump expressed optimism the U.S. and Britain could sign a substantial trade deal, for which he encouraged May to stick around. The Prime Minister and has agreed to step down as leader of our party on Friday, so I don't know how that's going to work. So that's going to be the toughest thing. We'll take a look at what he did yesterday, a little bit of the ceremonial day, and then what he's doing next. Queen Elizabeth welcomed, this is yesterday, Trump and his family to the Buckingham Palace for a royal artillery salute and state banquet. The president also continued a feud with Sadiq Khan, who likened Trump's language to that used by fascists of the 20th century. So that's not the best. Trump's love affair, actually, interestingly enough, with the royal family goes back really to his mother, who's a Scottish immigrant enthralled by the Queen. So there has always been kind of a little bit of an admiration for the royal family from Trump, probably passed down from his mother to him. So it's all very interesting stuff. So now we turn to some of the things he's doing actually right now. He's arrived at 10 Downing Street with Theresa May. This is just actually happening now as protesters gather elsewhere in London. Supposed to be a little bit more to work. Trump arrived in Britain on Monday for a full welcome on Tuesday. He's going to do more work, pretty much. He attended a business roundtable at St. James Palace in the morning and was due to meet with Prime Minister Theresa May of Britain at her office at 10 Downing Street. Trump and Miss May are scheduled to hold a joint news conference, which is going to be pretty interesting. In the evening, there will be a reception at the American ambassador's residence. Trump and May are expected to discuss the issues of security and trade, especially in the context of Brexit. Britain is hoped to strike a bilateral trade deal with the United States, and it remains unclear what the progress the two leaders might make. However, since Miss May is in the last days of her tenure in office, having agreed to step down as leader of the Conservative Party after failing for almost 3 years to deliver Britain's withdrawal from the European Union, the president has criticized Miss May's approach to Brexit before and has repeatedly praised the leading candidate to replace her, Boris Johnson. Before arriving in London, Trump suggested that he might meet with Johnson, the former foreign minister, calling up, quote, a friend of mine. He also suggested that he might meet with Nigel Farage, a leader of a pro-Brexit party there. So that is very not so encouraging stuff, especially if Boris Johnson comes in. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that this is the United States and Britain are going to have a little bit of a better relationship maybe, but it may not all be just roses from there, because we could see a serious problem, a serious lack of deal, a serious no deal possibility there, or whatever they call it. So there's also possibility right now for a potential substantial trade deal. As President Trump attended a business roundtable, as we know. At the start of the meeting, Trump praised Mrs. May and insisted Britain and the United States would come to agreement on the trade. Trump said that Britain is the biggest trade partner the United States has, and he claimed that's a fact that many people do not know, he says. A fact many people don't know. But Britain's actually number 7th largest trading partner in 2018. China was the first. So speaking to Miss May, who was seated across from him, he said to laughter, I don't exactly know what your timing is, but stick around. Let's do this deal. Just stick around while he passes. He's very weird like this. Just stick around. Well, why not? So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out, because obviously you do need a deal. You need a deal if Brexit does happen. You're going to have a tough road ahead and you're going to really need to find out how you can renegotiate trade deals with all your major partners. So it's going to be a little tough. And if he doesn't really figure out how to do that, then it is like it's going to be very rough. So yeah, I guess the U.S. Britain trade relationship that everyone loves is probably going to stall for a little bit. Anyway, we now turn from a state visit to some troubles in big tech. There's no really linking I can make with that one, but U.S. lawmakers said on Monday they were looking into the possible behavior of Silicon Valley giants that could lead to the first overhaul of antitrust rules in decades. A House panel informed Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google of its plans for its hearings, testimony from company executives, and subpoenas for internal corporate documents. The Federal Trade Commission and the Justice Department have divided oversight for the companies, which declined to comment, although they have rebutted accusations of anti-competitive behavior in the past. So it's going to be something they're going to really look to protect. It could be some years before regulators take action or Congress passes new antitrust laws. Some consumer groups have called for companies to be broken up, but lawmakers and global regulators have stopped short of such a major move. So again, looking at Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google. Facebook, I mean, I'm personally especially pro-Facebook getting just broken up because it's such a destructive force, really, on our democracy. It tells people so many false things. It's really just a sickly kind of cancer, and there's everything Facebook does that's good. There's so many other ways you can do it. Like, you just text each other. You don't need Facebook Messenger, guys. Come on. Like, it's just not necessary. Yeah, and the fact that like the roles it's had in some pretty horrible things, it's just really there's nothing that would be singularly more helpful to our democracy that we could take into like an instant action than to shut down Facebook, in my opinion. It just really is that simple. But let's take a look at this broadly here. It's a report from Cecilia Kang, David Stratfield, and Andy Carney in the New York Times. Talks about the federal government stepping up its scrutiny of the world's biggest tech companies, leaving them vulnerable to new rules and federal lawsuits. Regulators are divvying up antitrust oversight of the Silicon Valley giants, and lawmakers are investigating whether they've stifled competition and hurt consumers. I wonder what's pretty interesting is how Trump is going to fall down on this, like what he sees, and is he going to want to see something stifled? Is he going to want to see some real change? And like, what's his take is going to be? Is he going to come in and try to stop this? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even really care. Like, because it's kind of weird and kind of a little bit disorienting even to see this kind of regulation happening in a Trump presidency. I don't know about you, but you would think that like this kind of regulation would be someone like Elizabeth Warren's presidency. I don't know, but nonetheless, it is very possibly happening. To make some real change. So that could be very interesting. So in a spate of unusual negotiations, the Justice Department agreed to handle potential antitrust investigations related to Apple and Google. Again, this is Donald Trump's Justice Department. Color me shocked here. This is not something you expect any day. Lawmakers in the House said they're looking into tech giants' possible anti-competitive behavior. That could lead to the first overhaul of antitrust rules in many decades, in an effort to keep up with an industry that didn't exist when antitrust laws were written. The question of whether tech companies violate antitrust laws has long been the subject of academic debates and industry griping, but now the industry is in the sights of President Trump, Democrats running for president, Congress, and consumers. Silicon Valley has faced fierce criticism for disinformation, privacy breaches. Again, privacy breaches are huge. Selling your data to people, Facebook, again, as I said, worse with that. So, the fact that this is happening, again, kind of like the First Step Criminal Justice Reform Act shows that it really was quite a big problem in the first place. So, yeah, investors pummeled technology stocks on Monday. Shares of Facebook fell more than 7%. Google and Amazon shares were sharply lower, and Apple stock fell about 1%. It does not appear that the agencies have opened official investigations, but the scrutiny from Washington could lead to years of headaches for companies, raising the prospect of lawsuits to break up companies, hefty fines, or new laws limiting their reach. I mean, personally, I think Facebook, with all the things they've done, all the missteps that they've had, is probably the most secure case to break up. Like, I think it's just that simple there. he says, but David Cicilline says this is about how we. This is about how we get competition back in the space, said David Cicilline, Democrat of Rhode Island. He is the chairman of the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Antitrust, which during the next 18 months plans a set of hearings, testimony from executives from top companies, as well as subpoenas from internal corporate documents. So Cicilline said the investigation would focus on major digital platforms. The House committee on Monday informed 4 tech companies, Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, of the plans. If the House investigation finds wrongdoing, lawmakers will pressure the Justice Department or the FTC to investigate. As he said, something that we all feel like this is sharp. This is long overdue, he says. Take a look at some of the stocks, the people who lost the most in order of the worst. Oh, the worst losses yesterday came from Facebook, then Alphabet, then Amazon, and then Apple. Apple did really substantially better than the others, interestingly enough. Yeah, so that is that's all very interesting. So we're going to now turn from that to an interesting story going on in Mexico right now. The number of undocumented immigrants who have been detained or deported has multiplied quickly in recent weeks, as the government has faced intense pressure from Washington to crack down. On Monday, Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard warned that tariffs threatened by President Trump last week would undermine Mexico's efforts to actually control migration. The two sides are holding talks in an effort to defuse this situation. Started really jacked up there by President Trump. So it's like that. I mean, you may not agree with him, but Uncle David definitely was right. That's for sure. He knew what was good. It wasn't that hard of a conclusion to make. The fact that Mexico would not really like the fact that they were facing these tariffs and probably take some pretty immediate action on it. Like, yes, they have. They're holding some pretty quick talks. Let's bring this level down a little bit. Let's take it a little bit slower. So in April, Mexico deported nearly 15,000 migrants, up from about 9,100 in March, according to government statistics. Over the past 2 months, the government of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador deported about 67 more migrants than its predecessors did during the same period in 2018. A federal judge yesterday rejected a House lawsuit seeking to stop Trump from using emergency powers to build a border wall. The ruling won't have an immediate practical effect, but there's already an order blocking the president from proceeding. It could narrow the House's legal options on that one. So that's something they really are trying to stop there to at least to some degree. Businesses right now are calculating the cost of climate change. They're bracing for the prospect of a warming planet that can substantially affect their bottom lines in the next 5 years, according to a report. Analyzing submissions from 215 of the world's 500 biggest corporations, the international nonprofit CDP found that these companies potentially face roughly $1 trillion in costs related to climate change in the decades unless they took proactive steps to prepare. Vice President Joe Biden, who is seeking the Democratic presidential nomination, introduced a plan to reinstate Obama administration policies as well as proposals that would go further beyond what the previous White House achieved. And I think if anyone really takes him seriously on this, like after saying we need a middle ground on climate change, like I think you're just not really taking a fuller look at the candidate, which is a little sad because I think that's what's really going to cause Joe Biden to fail. It's just you need to have a fuller look. Like it's just that simple. We need to we really need to see some sort of change on this. Like it's just that simple. And Joe Biden's not really the guy for it. Like coming onto this last, it's really kind of rough to see Joe Biden pushing on this. All right, we're going to do some quick hits right now really quickly. That's what the name is, of course. We start with the disaster aid package being approved after a months-long impasse. Congress gave final approval on Monday to a $19.1 billion package to provide relief after hurricanes in the south, wildfire in California, and floods in the Midwest. So that's pretty positive stuff. All right. Oh, we got to do our quick hits music. All right. Also today in quick hits, we want to get to Citizenship questions continue. Justice Department has dismissed as smoke and mirrors the assertions to